What is up, guys? It's Otto from Bass Brothers and welcome to another Hardstyle tutorial. And now we are continuing the series of artist lead tutorials, and today we have KELTEK. We've chosen KELTEK's song Through the Night and copied the lead sound as close as possible to the original one, and here is the result. Alright, since we are doing the lead tutorial, let's look at the lead on its own. And the lead on its own sounds like this. And it's 3 layers. Let's hear what each layer sounds like. Here's the first layer. The second one. And the third one. And as you can hear, it's heavily detuned, solid, quite dark, quite big, and very smooth and consistent. Let's look how each layer is made. All the lead layers are basically heavily detuned saw waves on their, underlying nature of these presets are that they are heavily detuned saw waves. And on the first layer we have one oscillator which is just 6 voices, heavily detuned saw wave. On the other oscillator we have 1 octave higher, same type of saw wave, same kind of detune, but a little bit less on the volume. And on the B part we have a heavily detuned square wave with 8 voices. And it's also quite low on the volume because you don't want it to stand out, you want to fill out the missing things. A little bit pitch LFO and some pitch modulation to make it sound more smoother, and of course opening up the attack and opening up the release. And then we have mono legato here for the gliding notes. And on the second layer we have again heavily detuned saw wave. Sorry, let's go on to part A first. Heavily detuned saw wave, 8 voices, and same on the A2 side, so basically this is a hypersaw. And on the B part there's again heavily detuned saw wave. You can see where this is going. It's 1 octave higher, and also on the B2 we have not that heavily detuned but quite detuned square wave and 1 octave higher. Same type of pitch LFOs and pitch modulation, and the mono legato here for the gliding notes. And the third layer is detuned square wave with 2 voices, and then we have 1 octave higher, little bit detuned 2 voice saw wave. And on the B part this is just empty, there are 0 voices because this was trial and error, of course, and this part was not needed. And on the third layer we have a little bit more prominent pitch LFO. Same type of mono legato as on the first 2 layers, and the pitch envelope as well. And I don't think it's necessary to talk about the different processing on each layer. Just make a heavily detuned saw leads and process them so that they sound dark and consistent, smooth and big. And how you do that is basically doing it with compression and with EQs. Those are the important tools. Cut out some of the high or tame the high ends a little bit and compress the whole signal to one smooth, entity, so to speak. Okay, time to look at KELTEK's chords, which sound like this. And each layer on their own. There are 3 layers. The first layer sounds like this. Second layer. And the third layer. So in this particular track, the chords are quite bright compared to the lead sound, which was quite dark. The most important part, I think, for the chords is the third layer, which is this one. And in the original track you can also hear this type of chord layer in the background, and it's really bright and it stands out quite heavily. Basically the other chords are just super saws, nothing too fancy, but those are sounding a little bit different from each other. But still, they're super saws. And then the third layer, this one. This is also a super saw with some white noise, and it's the most important part here is the cutoff modulation, and basically it makes it's just a plucky super saw sound. And if we open up the cutoff, it sounds like that. And the processing on the chords is, again, it's pretty simple. EQ, saturation, compression, but this time don't make it too dark, make it a little bit more brighter, open up the high end with an EQ and mix it with the lead, so the lead sounds dark and the chords sound bright. Okay, and next we have the bassline, and bassline was pretty simple. We have just a sine wave sub bass with long notes, and then we have a saw bass, simple saw wave which follows the rhythm of the lead but the notes of the bass line. Nothing too fancy about that. And on the same topic, we can look at the choirs. These are, I'm not certain that there are choir in the background, except this short step. That one can be heard in the start of the original lead, and I think the choir is more just filling out and making the lead sound more bigger, because there might be some things that I cannot do, and this is the way I've achieved that. and these both are actually Nexus 2 presets. And these are just, you know, chords made out of the bass line. And then there is extra chords which you can hear in the original track, and they play only a few notes at the, you know, end part of the melody, which well, it's just a thing for this track, but since it was there in the original one, might as well make it. And for this, to save some time, I used a preset from Serum and tweaked it a little bit. Not much, but a little bit, yeah. And with the chords, the extra, you know, chord layer and the choir sounds like this. Okay, and the last thing that we have here is the sort of kick, hall kick, white noises, and a brass sound, which can also be heard in the original one. There are a few different types. First of all, there's brass with the kick, which sounds like this. And then there is this brass sound. And there is actually all the components for this tutorial. And again, if you listen carefully, we can still start with each different component. So yeah, let's put them on one by one so you can hear how much everything fills out each other and how they complement each other. So we are going to start with the lead sound, and then we are going to add the chords, then the bass line, then the choirs, then I guess we're gonna add the extra chords, which are only a few notes, then the brass, and lastly the white noises and the kick. So let's go and listen carefully what everything does. So only the lead sound first. Let's add the chords. And bass line. Let's add the choirs. Let's add the brass. Let's add the extra chords. Now the kick and the white noises. And lastly, let's hear the whole thing without the lead so you can hear everything else. And there you go. That's the KELTEK lead, and to summarize everything, make a lead sound with heavy detuned saw waves and add some characters like pitch LFO and square sounds and make the lead sound quite dark and really big. And after that you can make the chords and try to make the chords a little bit brighter, actually a lot brighter than the lead sound, and make a simple bass line, one which is the sub bass and the other one which is leading the not leading, following the lead sound, and then a choir to fill out, you know, the chords and make it sound again a little bit more bigger. And yeah, I think the other things like the brass, they are just characters which are you know, for this specific track. Of course you can try using some brass sounds in your own leads as well. And that's the whole tutorial and the whole KELTEK lead sound. You can leave a comment down below to tell us what you think, what would you like us to do better, what would you change in these tutorials, anything. And I suggest that you also leave a suggestion or wish. What type of artist lead would you like us to do next? We're still going to do Disturb lead sound, which is coming next week. And then there is room for one which is going to come from all the suggestions that you guys made. And yeah, there's already few suggestions given to us, so leave yours in the comments and we'll know which sound would you like to hear. And by the way, if you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe, anything helps, tell your friend, or don't, and see you next week with another tutorial. Peace out.